burn.
Yeah, they don't
It's
expect
the oldest trick in the book.
They never expect an Indian burn. Don't leave a mark.
Say, the last time I've ever heard of Indian burn was probably like 3rd grade.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
That's what makes it perfect. You're gonna be expecting me to punch you. Imagine someone hits you with an Indian burn. You'd be stunned, dude. Would be like, what?
So I'm telling you, I'm just about to laugh in your face.
The real reason, it's taught is to just defuse the situation. It's not
or like in school when it's just like, hey, try it on my arm. Like, that's what I'd be thinking. Like, is he just trying this for the first time? What the fuck's he doing?
Yeah.
That just reminds me of the thing where it's like, bro, show me this. Oh, I got a move to show you. And it's like the dude pulls out the arm destroyer sun supernova black hole move and like breaks your arm.
Or like the wrestling ones, you'd see them like on WWE and shit. But like we didn't realize that they weren't like they were doing it safely.
Yeah.
And then you get your friend's legs on his back
it's like a big don't try this at home.
Yeah.
It's like every single kid at home trying that out.
Yeah, bro. And then I get my friend like that Bret Hart move where he's like on his stomach and I got his legs bent the wrong way behind him. And I just crank him. He's like, ow. I'm like, bro, it's amazing they can hold this shit for so long, but you don't realize they're not actually cranking down on it.
Yeah.
Dude, don't dispose them like that.
No, I mean, a lot of this shit they do is you hear it's fake, and it's just like you can't fake jumping off a top.
Yeah, no. Ric Flair went on Mike Tyson, and so did the Undertaker. He went on their podcast, and Mike Tyson's like, "Dude, I respect what y'all do." It's like Undertaker has like 20 surgeries under his belt.
Yeah, and he was wrestling at like 45 years old.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. But let's get into some martial arts, baby. Martial arts and mental health. Let's go. Alrighty, y'all. Welcome on back to the Mind Over Matter podcast. We got episode 44. 44 with Matt. Matt, how you doing, man?
Hello. Great to have you guys. Great to talk to you guys.
Like
there's lightning outside. It's like absolutely fucked right now.
Pretty nice over here in Florida, baby.
Yeah, you guys are lucky. New York literally looks like Blade Runner right now. Like
their accents are a lot cooler, though. I will say.
I don't even have the Boston accent, so I'm not cool.
Yeah, what's up with that, man? Yeah,
I don't have the Pakyaka in Harvard.
What about coffee?
Coffee. Yeah, coffee.
How'd you dodge it?
I dodged it because I'm an hour and a half away from Boston. That's why.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, that'll do it, man. How you feeling today, Kev?
I'm feeling great, dude. How are you?
Feeling spicy, man.
Spicy.
Hopefully ready to get into it.
Yeah.
No, I actually, it's funny that first off, we set up this yesterday with Matt, and I completely forgot about it today. But in the gym today was the first time I was just throwing some punches at the bag. So the good Lord put this in my path for a reason. So let's get into it, Matt. Man, you teach martial arts up there in Massachusetts. You want to talk a little bit about just kind of how you got into it? What led you to start doing that?
Yeah, so that's actually like the second sort of like a side gig type deal. So when I was thinking about what I actually wanted to do with my life, finally was when I was like 17, 18, I went to college. I was pre-med, and I was there for like a year and a half. I was doing medical laboratory sciences. And because I was always a science kid, so I was like a big science nerd. And I never really sort of recognized like anything entrepreneurial about myself, or like that I didn't want to be an employee or that whole shtick. I never really thought about any of that stuff. So I did medical laboratory sciences for like a year and a half. And I was like, I really like science, but I fucking hate this. And I could never do this as a job. So I dropped out. So it was like a year and a half in. I was doing really well too. My parents were like, why are you dropping this? Like, what's wrong with you? And I took some odd jobs for a bit, sort of trying to figure out what I actually wanted to do. And then I went back to the whole sort of mantra that you hear a lot, where it's like, do something you're passionate about. And when I was 6 years old was when I started martial arts. So my dad put me in because I got beat up on the playground and all that. So that whole typical like high school, or not even high school, elementary school bully.
6-year-old bully.
Yo.
You shoved in lockers and you know what and stuff like that. So when I was 6, my dad put me in martial arts. he was a prison guard and he worked as a police officer for 20 years. So he got me started with that. He was also a black belt too, in a different style. But he got me started really young. So that's something I was always passionate about. I never did like organized sports. I did baseball for a little bit. Never played like basketball or football. So I was always passionate about martial arts. So when I dropped college, I was like, hey, maybe I'll go back to, something I'm passionate about. So I went back to my original school. First school was I learned Kempo. I did that for about over a decade. And I got my secondary black belt in Kempo. So I did that. I went back to the original school and I'm like, hey, I just dropped out of college. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. Can you maybe tell me more about running a school or like maybe me becoming an instructor? So he took me under his wing. I did that for about a year. Then I'm like, okay, so I like this. I found something I'm passionate about. I love instructing kids. I taught the kids class. I helped teach some of the adult classes too. But the issue became that I wasn't making enough money. And I realized that I wanted to make more money. And I didn't have location freedom. So my goals changed. So as I went down the path of like, oh, do something you're passionate about, my goals changed for like the 800th time in my life through that like 3-year period. I'm like, well, I really love this. And it sort of like gives me the fulfillment, but it doesn't give me the like goals that I want to get to. So I dropped that. And then I went to a different martial arts school because he was giving me a different opportunity. He was saying that he would give me his own, like my own franchise location and that I could sort of build that out. So this guy, he taught a Muay Thai studio and he also connected to that, had a I Love Kickboxing studio. So he had his own franchise, I Love Kickboxing, and his own Burke's Martial Arts. So he taught a Muay Thai school and a kickboxing studio. So I'm like, okay, I like this more. Maybe I can have different franchises and I can do this whole, like the sort of idea you're like, oh, I can go live on a beach in Marbella and have like all these businesses that run themselves. And of course, that's not how it works. I learned, but that's the dream. And so I went to that Muay Thai school and I did that for like another year. And I'm like, wow, I really love this. And it's really giving me that fulfillment, but it's not giving me the money. Like, it's just not there. Like, I love this so much. And it's something I don't think I'm ever going to stop until I'm physically incapable of doing it. But,
man, that's crazy because that's like where me and Kevin are right now. It's like we took a step back from the Army. All right, what are we passionate about? And we started the podcast and we're like, all right, podcast is awesome, but we need some money too, bro. Like it'd be awesome to be able to just do this podcast forever and not have to do much else and get the money through this. But like you said, the reality sinks in at some point. You're like, ah, damn it.
That's like everything that's like a creative thing, like artists, musicians, us, it's just like the passion's there. It's just so many times the money, is the big issue.
It always seems like that's like the beauty of the creator economy that we're in now. It's like you have the freedom to do stuff like this. So even if you wanted to pursue something that's purely creative, you could even make like a course on it. You could you get your YouTube ad revenue, get your revenue from podcasts or whatever. And there's a million different avenues you can take to take that purely creative passion that you think you couldn't make money with and just turn it into something completely different that you didn't expect. And that's the world we live in now. So there's so much more opportunity for it.
It's a good time, I think. I did want to ask, did you stop getting beat up when you did learn karate?
Yeah, so that happened about in middle school. So in middle school was where people were still messing with me because I was always like a reserved kid. And I think that's probably just typically your product of how you grew up, like family, all those different facets of your growing up. But when I was in middle school, I was still a reserved kid. So I'd still get like verbally bullied, typical like exclusion and all that, like ostracization, if that's a word. And I got into one singular fight and then nobody ever messed with me again, like ever. So there was literally one time. It was like some kid mouthed off to me in gym class and I kind of just whacked him. And then he had a nosebleed.
Like, I'm like thinking some karate, like.
Well, it wasn't anything. Yeah, it was nothing crazy. It was just like, oh, we shouldn't mess with this kid anymore. Like, we should like back up. Like, it was the one time I couldn't stand it anymore. And then he like walked up to me, got physical with me. I'm like, okay, no, we're not. I hit him once. He had a bloody nose. It was the only time I've ever been suspended in my life because I'm a goody two shoes. But we got suspended for it. And that was that. I never got messed with again after that. That was the end of the bullying. That was
first time I ever got suspended, dude. this kid, man,
Boy, I've never heard that. I don't think I've heard this.
he might be listening to this shit right now, actually. Who knows? But my man Johnny,
Johnny.
I think he ended up joining the Air Force or something now. So I think I do genuinely believe he got better, but I think he had a rough upbringing. And man, I hopped on the bus one day and my sister was already sitting down. We were on the way home, or we didn't even leave yet. And for some reason, he said something crazy, he used foul language. And I mean, what are we, like 10 years old? So my sister said, yo, like, chill. And he said back to her, like, shut the fuck up, you mother effing bitch. And I like heard it, so I
At
turned around. I was like,
10,
what the
bro?
hell? Yeah, bro. I like turned around, like, dude.
Where's this kid learning this?
I was like,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
he's like, yeah, dude,
It would have been a crack house, probably.
Yeah.
like, not like 10 to 12. We had to be 7th or 8th grade, so whatever that is. Yeah, like it's probably like 11
That's
to
an
13,
abusive
maybe.
father right there, bro. That's exactly.
Yeah, so I turned around and I was like, what did you just say? And he repeated it. And I ended up pinning him up against like that back seat in the bus, pinning him up and just beating on his face. And my friend ended up pulling me off. And I ended up, dude, I was crying on my way off the bus. Like, oh, I can't believe, like, I'm sorry. Like,
You don't mouth
to
off
my
like that
sister.
to family though. Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't stand for that either. Yeah, no way.
I didn't know what else to do. So I was like, whatever, you're already in this seat. Let me just beat the shit out of you. And then I ended up going into the dean's office and he's like, hey, so my mom was there at the time. And he's like, hey, so you just can't do that. I was like, you know what he said, right? And he's like, yeah, he just owned up to everything he said. He just told me again what he said, but you can't do that. And it's like, okay. My mom was there too. We left, we went home and she made me cookies. I had like a 5-day weekend because it was on a Thursday. It was awesome. It was awesome. So
That's a win right there, bro.
That's
so,
a
so it
W.
was a win. Yeah. So what I'm getting from this is it was a win.
Yeah, big W, dude. But I never learned martial arts, and I'm still like, I still would like to, but I mean, it ends up, costing money. You got a monthly payment or whatever it is. Is there anything like I could do an actionable step I could do alone to just start getting into it? Like when I was just punching the bag today, I was like, man, I might just be doing this all wrong. Like, is there anything you could just do in your room or something to whatever it is, hand-eye coordination for the person who doesn't play sports or something, Is there anything at home that we could get started with? That's free.
So there's plenty of YouTube tutorials. I always tell people that it's really hard to learn martial arts without doing it in person, without like having a physical instructor. It's just one of those things. It's like throwing a baseball, catching like it's very specific, nuanced, physical actions like that are really hard when you don't have somebody sort of fixing your form or stuff like that. You can. What I would always suggest if people don't have the money to like go off and find a trainer or join a school, which they're not really too expensive. So you'll probably get, most schools will be in the vicinity of like $1,200 or $1,100 a year. So you're paying like $100 something a month. But if you can't swing that, YouTube tutorials, and you start with basic striking. So just your jabs and your crosses, and then just sort of flow with combos from there. So once you learn, oh, my camera is having a meltdown.
Yo, what is going on?
This is probably the thunderstorm. It's telling you, it's literally Blade Runner in New England right now. If you look in New York, the sky is literally orange. Like
I heard about that. Yeah, from them fires.
Yeah, so the fires are coming at me now. They're trying to stop me from.
Oh, I didn't even. I just saw like a video of all the fires simultaneously starting at the same time. I don't know what the hell's happening, if I'm being honest.
Some conspiracy. Yeah, that's a story for another day. Conspiracy theories. But yeah, no, it literally looks like Blade Runner outside, dude. It's crazy. But yeah, so you want to start with your basic striking. So once you learn your jabs and your crosses, then you can start throwing in hooks, uppercuts, and all that. There's a million YouTube tutorials on how to throw a jab and how to throw a cross. It really just depends on the purposes of you learning the martial art. So what this always ties back to is what is the reason that you want to train a combat sport? Do you want to do it because you have a spouse that you want to protect? Do you have family? Do you have kids? Or are you doing it purely because you don't like running, which I hear because I do like the sales. I do sales for my own business, and I also sell the martial arts memberships too. So the other big reason that people join martial arts is because running is boring and cardio sucks. So they want a fun way to lose weight or cut some fat off. So are you doing it just because you want to lose weight? Or are you doing it just because you want to get in better shape? Or is it a more like, oh, I want to protect people?
Yeah, is it a neat? Because we were just, even our last episode, we were just talking about with Robin learning a new language. So you're not just going to learn a new language just because you need a use for it. In your eyes, you have to see the end goal and the use for it. Like, oh, when I'm done, this is what I could be doing with this. And yeah, I think, yeah, that would makes a lot of sense.
It always like, it goes back to like, it's also like where you are too. So like if you're in your life, you're already a fit guy, you're not going to sit here and like only learn like ground fighting. It's just weird. Like if you're already in good shape and you're saying, okay, well, I want to learn a style that's going to help me protect either, like I said, a spouse, family members. I live in like a dodgy area that I'd like to be more physically capable if there were a situation like that to arise. You should always start off with a striking art. I've had this debate on a million Twitter spaces with people. Like I said, I've been training since I was 6. I'm turning 24. So I have over 15 years of combat experience. I've fought in the cage 9 times. I've had 9 amateur fights. So like I would consider myself an expert on this topic. So if you're a guy and you're already in shape, you should learn a striking art first. That either goes to Muay Thai, Krav, or something in that vicinity. So once you have a solid striking base, then I think you should join a MMA gym, because at MMA gyms, they typically will also have a BJJ class. So if you want to fight in an amateur league, or you want to fight for, like I said, your like state championship or something like that, you want to go to an MMA gym, because then you can get on their fight team, you can take their BJJ class and the striking class and sort of intertwine those styles. If you get on the ground on the street, you have no idea what's going to happen to you. If you get pushed to the ground on the street, there could be another guy in another alley that was waiting for the guy to tackle you and shove heroin needles in you. Like,
whoa, yeah.
So this is like the sort of cornerstone of this whole argument is, but what is the point of you learning this ground fighting technique if you're still going to be on the ground for a bit anyway, because you got tackled? So as soon as you get to the ground, you're already in massive danger on the street. You could be getting stabbed. There could be another guy. There could be several guys waiting. Like you could just be straight up getting mugged on a random time of night. Like you guys already know this. Guys are way more prone to physical violence than women. Like statistically, by a large margin.
Wailing on my wife, dude. Yeah.
So like,
it makes sense though. Yeah, because like I've always. Not always, but as I've grown older, I'm always thinking now, like my ultimate goal is just to de-escalate things. Like we have a friend that we hang out with, and he has bad road rage issues, and was telling us a story about he like got cut off or something. And then they were yelling at the intersection. They pull over to the parking lot to like fight, and he gets out of his car, and the other guy does too. And like, thankfully, nothing ended up happening. But I'm like, what if you just said, hey, my bad, bro. Like, I've been having a really rough day. Odds are that guy has too. Like, there's 1,000 different ways to just de-escalate that I'm like, I would like to learn a fighting style, maybe like boxing or something, just to get away from someone. But like, pull a knife on me, bro, I'm Usain bolting in the other direction. Swear to God.
Well, that's what happened with that dude at the gym with me. Yeah. Oh, you said you watched that Magnum episode. Did you get to the story about fighting the dude at the gym?
At the gym, yeah.
That was the same thing, bro. Like I got to the ground. I was like, oh shit. Like I'm on the ground, dude. This dude's like 150 pounds bigger than me. I lose this shit.
Like on the ground. That dude in the pavement. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you just never know. You lose if you're on the ground.
You see this huge thing all the time where like guys that train the least amount are always the most aggressive. And it's just the funniest paradox to me, right? Because I've been doing this for so long, like said over a decade. And it's always the guys that come into the class with the least experience that are like, when I see red, I'm just going to start beating the shit out of this dude. Like, I don't care when you see red unless you're like 150 pounds heavier than me. Like, I've been doing this way too long, dude. I've seen too many of you guys come and go because you get frustrated that you get whooped by some 120-pound dude. Like, it's always the same story. They come in, and usually it's because they want to like fight professionally, or they're like, I just want to be able to like be more confident. But a lot of times it's overconfidence because they're already like maybe they go to the gym a lot. Maybe they played football in college or something like that, and they're just coming because they want to sort of improve their own combative ability. And they train for like a couple months, and they just get unbelievably frustrated because they're getting whooped by like dudes that are like 50 pounds less than them. And because they think it's all like, I see red, I'm just going to start beating the shit out of this dude. It's just not how it works. And it's always those dudes that are the most aggressive. It's the least trained people are the ones that are always going to go online and start talking about, yeah, when somebody comes up to you, you just beat them into the pavement. Like, that's not the martial arts literally means the art of self-defense.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's that like if
defend yourself, not go out and beat the shit out of people. Like, that's the complete opposite.
That was the thing. I found myself in a situation where I couldn't defend myself. And right when I texted a buddy who knew like Marshall, he was a wrestler in high school and kind of he was in the army as well. Like, he knew right away when I told him the story of what happened. He knew, like, dude, next time he does that, just give him a knee to the dome. And I was like, man, if I just went into a class for maybe even like a week, I would have known that. And now my back's still messed up from that story, but like I would be good just because I went in for a week.
You would have known though,
learned
like
something
enough to get your ass kicked. Probably is the shitty thing.
Yeah.
Like, what do they call that? The Dunning-Kruger effect. It's like where you know a little bit, but you don't know enough to know how much you don't know. It's like Trevor. We did this training in Green Platoon. Real quick, shout out to I just seen Michaela Lemon in the chat. Dude, good to have a viewer. Shout out to you though. But yeah, we do this training, and part of it's combatives. Where are you familiar with like army or military combatives? What it is?
Yeah, a bit of it. I have a couple friends that I've sparred with that were in military combatives. A lot of it translates well to Krav Maga. A lot of the stuff is pretty similar to Krav because that's what the Israelis use in their military. So
makes sense. Yeah, it's a lot of like rolling and stuff. And you saw the biggest guys get in there and try and muscle people, and that works if you're like 150 pounds heavier.
Huge, yes.
But then the guys that wrestle just let them use all that energy, and after 30 seconds, it was just they were gassed, dude. Just like that's such cases.
Exactly how it works. Yeah, the perfect example is army combatives. Yeah.
So, are you planning? Go ahead.
It's always the aggressive dudes. It's always the dudes that have been, it's always the dudes that have been training the least. Like, and it's always the guys that go online and talk the most crap about, I'm just gonna see red and beat the crap out of people. It's the least trained people, and it's like
the guy that says, "I just got a gun."
Well, that's fine too. You should have a gun too. That's the part that I think a lot of people find interesting when I talk to them about anything martial arts related. I'm like, yeah, you should have a gun too. Like, it's not like I can't block bullets. Like, I can't like deflect. Like my block form I can't block.
What's that? The Matrix? Where
if somebody pulls a 22 on me, I can't deflect it. Like, it's
so you're undertrained then, is what I'm hearing.
I haven't learned that move yet. I haven't learned the bullet deflection move yet. But like, yeah, no, you should have a gun too. Like, you should have every sort of mode of self-defense that's available to you. You should have it.
Yeah, I always think it's funny too. Like, when you act like you can just go around beating people up as if you can never catch a charge. What if someone has a blood clot? Like, half of American adults have blood clots now. They hit the ground dead. You're in jail for 20 years.
That's exactly what my dad said at that fight. He was like, dude, like, don't do that. You have no idea. Like, if I hit him in the head, he ends up with a blood clot. Like I said, or like he said, like, I'm in jail after
an aneurysm.
This dude's like this dude acted up, and now I'm in jail because he acted up, and I just had to put myself in that situation.
You're doing 20 years too, bro. Yeah,
20
you ain't going to county. You're going to fucking prison, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in New England. New England has like the craziest laws for self-defense. Like, there's some stupid, because I believe it was stand your ground in the South. Like, if somebody comes on your property, you can shoot them and you won't.
Yeah, Florida, you could just murder anyone who comes close.
That's not. I don't think we have that in New England, or at least Massachusetts. You can't kill people that come on your property. You will go to jail.
Bro, that's insane.
What's that shit? Castle Doctrine too? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. If someone's in your house, you can kill them for just about any reason.
Yeah, I don't think we even have that. You're not supposed to kill people like that.
Well, I mean, yeah. Why don't they just make murder illegal? Problem solved.
Yeah, no, just make guns illegal. That'll fix it.
Yeah, problem solved. No, they do have some crazy like knife laws. I think are hella hella restrictive up there too.
Yeah, knife laws are weird. You can only have one like this big instead of this big, and it can't be sharp. I got a katana. I can't have it sharp.
Let's go.
Oh, bro,
I just recently I went to New Hampshire and I loved it because the knife laws are so much laxer there. They have the what is it, live free or die? It's not a law, but it's like the way that they operate. So like you can have katanas, you can have swords, you can have folding knives, you can have switchblades, you can have all that.
Yeah, Kevin's ass about to pull up, giving me an Indian bird. I'm just gonna pull out a katana.
Pull out a katana.
Pull out a gravity knife that's fucking 18 inches long, dude.
Oh, your ass is twisted.
Yeah, you assume you could do that though. You haven't gotten an Indian burn from me, Trev. I can really clinch it down there.
I haven't gotten an Indian burn in 15 years, dog.
Well, then your arms are soft. You're not calloused up, bro. Yeah.
He's got to do
you
the
do not
Muay
want
Thai.
me to get you an Indian burn.
He's got to do the Muay Thai training where it's kind of like the Indian burns, where they take the wooden stick and just whack your knee. What is it? They whack like right here.
Oh,
right on your shin. So they train your shins. So when you start kicking people, like your shins are invulnerable. Like you got to start doing that.
Oh my god!
It's ridiculous.
Ow!
Yeah,
for me, bro. Like you hear like the best fighters, they always grow up like fighting from when they were like 6 because they got bullied or they got. I mean, it's largely bullied, but like. Yeah, I seen a TikTok of Mike Tyson. And he said his son wanted to get into boxing, and he just started laughing at him. Just laughing. He's like, "You fucking got everything handed to you. You want to be a boxer, bro? Get out of here."
No, Mike Tyson absolutely hates like who he was in the past. If you listen to his YouTubes, he's like, I can't believe I was that type of person. Like I had no other choice. That was the path I was on. But when I look back on it, like I was an angry dude all the time. In order to be the best like that. You have to be angry. You have to be pissed off at something. He's like, I just hated the person I was. When I stepped in the room, everyone knew like this dude he could pop at any second.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like he didn't have a dad. His childhood was brutal. And then as for his kid, that's funny shit for like his kid to come up and feel like I want to box. I would never want to follow those shoes, bro.
Hell
no, I always resonated with that because like I was the exact same way. I was a wicked angry kid, but it was this weird combination because I was angry, but I was also still really reserved. So if you did make me angry, that's when I would just snap because I was always like sort of like the docile sort of introverted kid. But then when you sort of pushed me over the edge, however cringe that sounds, I would just lose it because I had no way to control it because I had been sort of exerting that every night at 4 p.m. in class. So like 2-3 times a week, it was when I would just blow up for an hour. And that was like the release. Yeah. But if I didn't do that, like that day, and somebody like tested me, I would just lose it because I had no way to control it. So it took me years to sort of figure out how to quell that anger. And it was like a lot of therapy. It was a lot of like talking with friends about like, oh, hey, you might be a little bit too much right now. And I'm like, yeah. That makes sense. Like,
just imagine you in the lunchroom, like, fucking kill me, tough guy.
You piece of shit. Give me my sandwich back, you piece of shit.
I'm going to kill your family. Yeah, bro.
No, it's cool. It's cool, too, because I also am in the online money space, too. And I look like a nerd. So I present as like a nerdier person. But then I tell people, I'm like, oh, yeah, I've been training martial arts for 15 years. And they're like, like what?
Settle down. Settle down. My bad, bro. My bad.
Let's all be cool.
Well, it's just that's just how I am. It's just how I present. But it's cool. It's a cool dichotomy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, like, because I never did a martial art. I did hockey, and in hockey, I wouldn't like if I ever got pissed off. It was like a frustration almost, like to where I got so frustrated and. When I wasn't able to exert that energy anywhere. So it was I would cry. I would get off the ice after a game and be so frustrated that I would just like go to my parents and just cry because it pissed me off that bad. A kid needs an outlet to go punch a wall or something, like just go beat the shit out of something. Every kid should. And I mean, especially nowadays, that's not going around. Just, no kids dealing with how to be angry. That's the problem.
Yeah, because that stuff doesn't happen anymore. So I think I've talked about this so at the end of all of my classes, it's a karate tradition. I'm not sure if a lot of other styles will do this. I know Muay Thai doesn't do it the exact same. But at the end of class, especially with the younger kids, we always talk about like a specific mantra or some sort of old proverb that relates to something in the student creed. So that's modesty, courtesy, integrity, self-control, perseverance, and indomitable spirit. So it's some sort of proverb that relates to that, or like a story that helps the kid conceptualize one of those topics. So, and one of the things that I think I've mentioned a lot to like sort of the kids that are like 15 and 15 and up, and even in the adult classes too, is that these kids don't, like you just said, there's no outlet anymore to release anger. It's only sports. And the kids even have more anger now because they have all this pent up rage about all of these things that they can't even affect because of the internet, right?
Yeah.
So we live in this information age. We have all of this information. You're angry about something in a totally different country that you can't even affect. You're angry about what your friend said to you on Xbox. You're angry about you just failed a test. You're angry about what your mom said to you. And then you just happen to snap once at school and then you're suspended for like 2 weeks. Like, and what the parents will tell me whenever we talk about something like that is that, when they're like, when I was in school, we'd have fights in the parking lot and the teachers wouldn't even care. And I'm like, that's a really good point. Because
now kids are bringing guns, bro. You can't let that happen because now we got kids carrying guns. That's insane.
Guns. Yeah. It's just, whenever they say that, it puts it in perspective for me too. Because it's like, wait a minute, that's exactly how it used to be. They would settle these differences at school. They just get it done. Like,
and everybody knew after school, go across the street to the park where we're off school property and everybody just do whatever you want. If the
just
kid didn't
settle
show
it.
up,
just get it over with.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, shit, we did that in the Army countless times. Like, dudes have a problem. We would just close the shop doors and freaking knock it out, you know?
Well, and it even got so bad to where I thought it was bad to defend myself. So like even I had a running in, it was around the same time, 8th grade, something like that. We were playing intramural basketball. And that's where a lot of my problems have stemmed from, is playing basketball. I don't do it seriously, but whenever I go do it for fun, it turns into an argument or whatever the hell. And this kid, like, I could still see it in his name. Daryl Bogart, I'm name dropping because he's an OG. I hope he does. Tony Bello, we had Tony on, Kev, and we talked about Daryl.
He was cool, bro. Shout out to
Tony. Him and Daryl were homies. We all played baseball together. But this one time we played basketball, he said something, I said something, and it was like across the gym. I seen him start running at me. Like I was leaving and I flicked him off. And I turned around and I saw him start running at me. And all I did, bro, one of these. And that's it, bro. And I kicked him right in the chest. He couldn't breathe. And that was it. I walked out. And I was like, oh, shit. But I almost felt bad. Like, shit, like that. What else was I going to do? Like,
gave him one to the front.
Another time where I just started tearing up because I'm like, I'm so frustrated. Did I do the right thing? What's going on? Like, that's what I did, was tear up because I didn't have, like, all right, no, everything's going to be okay. It's almost like, I don't know. Is that something you really learn when you start martial arts? Is like, I guess, self-discipline, your own body, when you're right and when you're wrong. Like, do you start feeling like that mental self-awareness?
So I think one of the biggest things that you learn when you've been training for a long, long time is that it really, like you just said, discipline is one of the biggest things. And that's discipline when it comes to the skills that you've learned. So when somebody messes with you and you're a trained individual, your first instinct when you are disciplined from training is not to beat the person up.
Right.
Because you are so trained that you're like, ooh, if I threw something at this guy, I'd really hurt him. And I don't think I really want to hurt him. Like, you see all the new age stuff about stoicism now. And like, I think that kind of can tie into this really well, because it's like, you really want to be angry at these people when they mess with you. But like you just said earlier, it's like they probably got something going on too. And now you have all of this training. You're like, I don't want to use it on this poor dude who just like wanted a bagel and like cut me in line. Like, I don't want to beat the fuck out of his random.
You think Nate Diaz is going around thinking, oh, I'm about to beat this cat up? Like, no, hell no. Kill him.
Let me get my Frappuccino, bitch.
Somebody cuts him in line. He's like, oh, that's it. We're going to the ring. Like, put him in. Like,
gets him in a clinch immediately. Yeah, like,
Give some one of them Indian burns, baby.
Yo, oh, real. You don't want to be. Well, you see, with that, dude, I don't want to give anyone an Indian burn, frankly, just because I would probably break their arm.
You're too powerful.
Too
That's what I'm
dangerous.
saying.
He's
Dude.
too powerful. You're way too powerful.
Well, there you go, viewers. Exhibit A right here.
Yeah. Case in point. I mean, dude, it's just like you ever done like gate training, Trevor, in the army, and it's like you learn real quickly that you can't just go shooting everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
that-
you almost have to be getting like a bullet flying towards you to engage someone.
Yeah,
it's
you're like, I
like-
got this cool gun on my hip, but I can't use it.
Yeah,
It's
you-
kind of shitty.
You can't even point it at people, bro. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy, dude. But it's like I'm really glad that they teach us to be so kind of skittish a little bit of that, because dude, it'd be so easy. But people are not trained in most of the countries that we're invading, and so it's so easy for us to, just murder all of them, frankly. But
Yeah.
you just can't be doing that. People get angry about it.
Yeah.
I think people might get a little angry about that.
I'm just not to get political, but like that's just what happens, bro. We go over to these countries, we bomb them all to hell, and then we act like they're the terrorists, bro. I'm sorry, dude.
That's the most accurate thing I've ever heard from a military veteran.
Yeah, like, well, why don't they like us? It's because they hate freedom and democracy. Like, yeah,
No, because we killed hundreds of innocent civilians.
Yeah. Probably because we just bombed their home city.
Yeah,
I'd be
they
pissed
blew up
off too.
my grandpa and father in a drone strike. I hate your ass, dude. What the hell, dude?
I'd kill every single one I could find.
Yo.
Especially when you got these rules of engagements like we do.
What's the Hillary Clinton thing? It's like airstrikes, bomb them.
What'd she say about Gaddafi? We came, we saw he died or something.
He died.
Yeah, that
He
shit
died.
just like chills down my spine. I'm like,
What?
oh, this
He
bitch
died.
is crazy.
Can't figure out why they don't like us. Yeah, it's
Or
a
who-
mystery.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, oh man, I don't remember the other clip. Oh, the Bill Gates. Never mind. That was a COVID thing. It's like,
No, but
well,
I
he's
mean,
dead. He's like, oh yeah, they asked him about Epstein, and he's like, well, he's dead. So and we're like, dude, holy shit! Like,
It's just so brazen, bro.
yeah.
I did want to ask real quick. You said you dropped out of pre-med, right?
Yep. It was pre-med
So
for a year and a half.
I was technically pre-med for like a year in the army. I was trying to do those like science with the lab classes. And
Yeah,
I found
totally.
these this school where they would ship you a box of experiments to do. And so I had to, of course, deploy, and I'm like trying to do all these experiments with it was like get a raw potato. I'm like, I don't have that. I got like a potato chip. But anyway, though, I found out real quickly, it wasn't much like critical thinking. It was all memorizing. And like that's what really kind of turned me off. It's like I don't really have the chance to think for myself. It's this is this, and there's not really any questioning things. It's just I'm a little bit too inquisitive about it. And I wanted to ask, like, why did you drop out?
So the main reason I dropped out was just because of sort of how I envisioned it to be in like 50 years. So
Yeah.
when you're young, right, everybody's like, oh, you have to, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, what, and that doesn't really sort of jive with most people when they hit like 18, 20, because you hear, what do you want to be? And then that sort of translates to what career do you want to have? And what career you have isn't really who you are, right? It's not the lifestyle you live. It's not the interactions and like the friends that you've made along the way type deal. But when I thought about it, I'm like, so I have to sit in a lab for 50 years. I have to look at blood cell counters for 50 years. I have to do immunology reports for 50 years. And then I'm like, I'm just picturing myself doing that. And I'm like, I can't do this. Because like I said, I was always a science kid. So I actually enjoyed doing the analysis of blood cells, learning about diseases, doing those clinicals. I enjoyed it. But then when I thought about my future of like, oh, I'm going to do this for 50 years, I'm like, no, I can't do this. No way. It's just not something I could have in any way pictured myself doing.
Looking back, you think that like you're happy with that decision?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah, go into your little side or not side gig, I guess your website stuff.
yeah, so how that happened was, so after I dropped out of pre-med and I was taking those odd jobs, that's when I started learning about online business. Because a little bit before I dropped, that was when I found Andrew Tate. So I found him.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, yeah. So when'd you drop out real quick then?
So I dropped out in 2020, like early 2020.
Okay.
early
Perfect
2020.
time.
Yeah, so that's when. So I'd found Tate like way before he went like viral,
Ah.
like a couple of years before, and that was when a lot of his videos on YouTube were about like combating depression as a man and like ways to sort of circumvent the sort of mundane lifestyle that a lot of guys live. And I don't think I was ever really depressed, but I had a point when after I dropped out that I was really, really depressed. And that's because I was doing all these odd jobs. I wasn't pursuing something that either made me it was giving me any of those sort of things on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So no fulfillment, no money, no anything, no like
No
new
purpose, yeah.
relationships, no purpose, no nothing. And like I was just so lost. I worked for Amazon. I did home care because my mom was a nurse, so I had an in there. So I did home care for the elderly and disabled. I worked at CVS. I was working at like all these random places. I stocked shelves overnight for a year. That was the main point when I was actually learning about. Yeah,
That's
That
what
didn't
I
give
did
you a
before
sense
the
of
army,
purpose,
baby.
a lot. Everybody always like, oh my god, I stock shelves too. A lot. So many guys have been there doing the overnight 10-hour shift.
Dude, I was and when I was deciding whether or not to join the army, a full-time position opened up at the Home Depot where I was at, and my mom was full-time all growing up. And it was just one of those things like, man, I saw my mom in retail all growing up. I have this, this would be so easy, making like $15 an hour full time. Like I could take this to the top. I know I could be where my mom's at. This would be easy money. And I get home and I tell my mom, hey, they just offered me the spot. She's like, Trevor, you're not doing that. Trevor, you're not doing that.
Smart mom, I think.
Yeah, no, we were just talking about it yesterday, maybe the day before. I'm like, Mom, honestly, thank you so much. Like you paved the road for something great, really, just by saying, no, you are not going to be an overnight boxer for your career, man.
Shout out,
the
shout out all moms. Yeah, that's
the moms out there.
That's such a good thing. Shout out all moms.
Hey, Mom cast, baby. Shout out, Mom.
Sir. No, that's where my former job was easy to make that decision. I was a ride operator at an amusement park.
Oh.
You wouldn't know by looking at me, yeah. But like, because I worked in the kids section, because they'd hire.
You dealing with a bunch of annoying kids or annoying adults?
Dude, kids. They were, dude, the kids were so bad, bro. Like most of them were pretty okay, but it's the really fat ones that wanted me to pick them up, and it's like, bro, I don't have workers' comp. What if I hurt myself? And the stickiness of the kids out in Colorado. I don't know what it is about 2013, but kids were so sticky back then. It was just like, ugh,
sticky.
Like sometimes we called them majors in the industry, but they'd make me go work. Yeah, they make me run the adult rides, right? And,
majors.
Yeah, the
majors.
Got
moved up to the majors.
Called
baby.
Up. Ain't playing AAA no more. And they were worse just because they didn't listen because they were all fucked up.
Yeah, all
like,
drunk.
The kids would listen to me, but these cats weren't. And I'm just like, bro, they wanted me to come back another summer, and I'm like, dude, I am not gonna.
I'm done.
Listening.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Yeah.
No, I relate to that because I teach kids and adults. So, and there's always there's two types of kids that learn martial arts. One of them is the kid that got forced into it for some reason because they're overweight, they're not confident. Some external factor like that. It's like their parent, like I said, they more so forced them into it. Either because they weren't interested, like I was, they weren't interested in like baseball, football, hockey.
Yeah,
like
me
that.
right here.
Yeah,
they got
acted up constantly for no reason at all.
That kid kind of got forced into martial arts, and they either quit really, really early and they just act out during class, and they ruin the whole class. I'm like, all right, Mom, you gotta take him out. He clearly doesn't want to be here. Like, this is your fault. Like, it's an awful talk you have to have. Like,
your fault.
It's you don't obviously say it that pressing, but that's just how it is. It's like you forced the kid into this because I know you want the kid to be better and like more disciplined, but this just isn't the avenue for it. Like, he doesn't want to be here. You can't.
So you don't think that would save a decent amount of what's going on in today? Is just a bunch of kids going into martial arts?
No, I recommend martial arts to any parent who asks me about it. Like, because a lot of times they'll have friends of the kid come in and watch it. So, and then those parents will they'll question after, like, oh, so how does this work? Like, what are the times? Like, can you show me the schedule? Can I like talk to you some other time? I preach it to any family that has young kids that are already athletic should at least give it a try. Because it's not, this is the biggest overarching thing about this. It's not just about being combat ready. Most martial arts schools will also teach you the mental aspect of it. So whether that's some sort of student creed or that's just some aspect of discipline that runs throughout the whole school, you will learn mental fortitude. You will learn how to be confident, not just because you are ready for combat, but because you are of sound mind. You are just a more disciplined and motivated person. You become more modest. That's so. Like I said, the student creed that a lot of karate, at least Americanized karate schools, will follow is modesty, courtesy, integrity, self-control, perseverance, and indomitable spirit. So that's the student creed that basically every Americanized karate school will follow. And those things are drilled into the kids from white belt to junior black belt. So the first thing that you have to do when the kid comes in is they memorize that student creed. That is the first thing that every kid has to do.
Where have I heard that before?
Yeah, no, man. Like this is exactly what I'm thinking. Like this all sounds exactly what it was like to go into the army. Like the basic training, that it sounds very similar, except it's better because you choose to do it. You're still with your families. Like it's not a complete, like, I guess you could say the basic training's like going cold turkey, almost like the opposite of, like, you just cut everything and you learn how to get ready. This just seems like a perfect medium.
Like I recommend it to every single family. Like anybody that has young kids that maybe act out a little bit too much and you'd like them to be a bit more disciplined, because I know that's always something that parents will say, especially in like the first meeting. They're like, this little guy right here, he loves to mouth off to me all the time. And obviously it's usually not that serious, but it's just the parents, you would obviously like your kid to be very disciplined and very self-motivated. So that's always just something the parents will say. But yeah,
websites. We skipped over websites.
Oh, we did skip over. We started talking about this. I love talking about martial arts. It's actually my favorite.
No, that's awesome because I don't know shit about it.
No, I'll go back to that. So, I had already learned about Andrew Tate before I dropped out of college, and that was sort of my first sort of thing that got me into online business. Mm-hmm. And this was when he was promoting crypto stuff. So he was still promoting his decentralized finance course, and that was the first online course I ever bought. So it was his guide to DeFi. It was like Tate's guide to DeFi. I don't think it was exactly. It doesn't matter. But so I bought that, and crypto was like my introduction to online money. I didn't know anything about copywriting or web design or lead generation or anything like that. Absolutely nothing. So I was a crypto guy on Twitter for a bit. I was one of the guys that posted all the charts and stuff and like analyzed all the numbers. So I was one of those guys for like a year. And it was like close to a year. And that's when I was still working Oddjobs. And this is why I think I was so lost, because this is what happens with a lot of guys, especially like that want to pursue this entrepreneurial world and they get caught up in internet money, is it's incongruent. So let's say they're a very naturally creative person, and then they put themselves in lead gen. It doesn't work because you are quite literally going against your God-given talent. Like, you are a naturally gifted creative and you can come up with these fresh new ideas, but you put yourself in this hyper analytical, data-driven role. So that happens to so many guys. But anyway, so I'm naturally creative. So I did a lot of different things. I did consulting. I was doing advertising for a bit. I did Google ads for local companies. I was doing Google ads for landscapers. That failed because I didn't stick with it. I did consulting for crypto. I was helping like financial advisors and tax advisors. I was helping them learn about crypto when it was booming. This is when Bitcoin was like 50, 60K. It was like close to peaking at 75. And I did that for a bit. Again, I didn't really have the gumption to stick with it. So I dropped that as well. So I failed at Google ads. I was failing at consulting. And I'm like, okay, I need to like do the whole meme of where you stick to something for 6 months and don't give up, because that's my problem.
That's what we just got done doing, bro.
Yes, sir.
I haven't found that thing yet. So when I was working that stocking job, the stocking shelves at a local grocery store, that was when I really went hard on coding and web development and web design. So I took the about 9 months that I was working at this grocery store to just absolutely hammer in web development JavaScript, all these different coding languages and website design, and all these different copywriting frameworks. I read several copy books. So I took that basically year to learn all of that. And during that time, I went back to some of those old Google Ads clients and I pitched some web design for free, started learning a bit about that. And then in like end 2020, early 2021 is when I launched my first agency, was when I was doing SEO and website design for local contractors. So that's anything like pest control, like I said, landscaping, cleaning, anything like that. So any sort of local home service people, that was my first agency.
All right. That's kind of what we kind of did the flip. We started trying to do web design. And that was the problem though, too, is like, just like you, I'm very creative. I love websites. I love even creating the stuff for the podcast. Like it's just the part that I love about it. But then I got into the lead gen, like you said, and it's just like, oh my God, dude, I don't want to call any of these guys.
Yep.
I'm not going to call any of these guys. And then we went into the lead gen, real estate lead gen, and we're like, man, I think this is just it's too much after we've already found what we like the most is the podcast. Like it's just we're trying to figure out this lead gen stuff, and that's just not who we are, and we're not getting even a remote bit of fulfillment out of it. We stopped that, but now we're just doing this.
Yeah.
And now we're not getting a remote bit of money from it. So it's like, all right, well, now we got to go back to the drawing board and figure something out. Because really, once you get money and you can just put it all into one thing, whatever it is, when you start a business, you start getting money in, you put the money right back into the business. It just booms. That's all it takes. It's just a little bit, and then you just go into it and boom. But we just got done with the 6 months. We're like, finally, you know what? This lead gen stuff isn't going to work out. Like, it was a miserable,
and it didn't work, you know? I mean,
like we put a decent amount of money into it and we just couldn't do it. It was just too much at once. But yeah, a lot of dudes try to figure out something online. And it normally is when you follow that first person, you find that first person, and you're like, oh, I can make money online. Let me try it. And then you're like, oh shit, well, I'm not doing this.
And they're posting fake Shopify screenshots the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You're like, damn,
that's always the problem too. It's just you have to navigate this very dodgy landscape of like full of scammers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like the best advice is you have to find people whose free content makes you money. So if you find someone whose free stuff makes you money, imagine what their paid stuff would do. Like imagine if somebody's giving you like a whole A to Z playbook, like Launch Socials, for example, like Nick and Logan Fitz, or for like me, I have a completely free program that literally chronicles how I built turbo sites from A to Z, like the 2 years that it took me. So if you like, they give you the Launch Socials playbook for free. So if you look at the people that are giving you all this free value, imagine how good it would be if you paid them to help you implement it. That's like the best advice I can give to people that want to find good content. And like I said, the landscape of digital marketing and all of this, it's so dodgy. And I feel really bad for people that are like trying to get into it because there's a billion courses you can buy. Like there's only like, let's say 8 skills that you can really learn. And a lot of them just tie back into copywriting. Like email marketing, it's just copywriting. Like e-commerce is a mix of everything. Lead gen is copywriting and a lot of software implementation. Like a lot of it just ties back right back into copywriting. So it is definitely very tough to find the right courses that you will actually be able to implement and make money from. So
where would you start now? If you dropped out now, where would you start?
If I dropped everything, I'd probably start with copywriting. I would learn because I did it backwards. So I learned web design and web development before I learned copywriting. So I was making these really cool websites, but they didn't really do anything because I didn't know. So if I could do it again, I'd learn copywriting first, and then I'd learn coding and a supplemental skill that enhanced the copy that I already knew how to write. So
I would say too, though, like with the courses, if it's like a legit good course, it's not going to be $50. Like, I mean, we looked at Tate's website and it had like, it would show you crypto, copywriting, all this shit. It was like all this shit. It was like $50 a month. I'm like, that can't be good. It can't be good stuff, dude.
No, that's pretty accurate. Yeah. A lot of the stuff that tends to be that like low ticket is just very introductory material that just is just you're supposed to
Yeah, I was
follow
just
it.
gonna say, yeah, it's at least it's a introduction to it, and it's cheap, but sadly you have to just find that out because you can't. I mean, you could, but it's a lot harder to get introduced to the online money scene for free. Like without joining Cashflow Syndicate, I would have never known that I can make money in 30 different ways online. And I wouldn't have found out that, well, really, everybody's just a normal person online. We just got to fit in. Like, you don't find that out until you start digging into online and what's going on. It's just like another like mental health thing, figuring out through trial and error.
Yeah, no, you will. People totally underestimate. This is one of the biggest things. People will absolutely, until the day they die, underestimate how much failing you have to do, especially for something like this entrepreneurial. The amount of people that I've reached out to in the last 3 years, I couldn't even tell you. It's got to be in like the 20,000s. I've cold called probably over 3,000 people, and you can imagine how many times people have told me to fuck off.
Yeah.
And like with the consulting Google ads that I failed at, that was like 3 months of me just hammering it down. I get no results, nothing. I didn't make a penny. Like with web design, I didn't make a penny for those 9 months that I was learning it. I couldn't even get a client. Like I sat there and I was like, oh, but I know how to do all this. And like, there's so many different components you have to learn. Like you can't even just learn the skill. You have to learn how to create systems. You have to learn how to find clients. You have to learn how to get them into a sales process that actually drips them the right information so they believe in your ability to get them results. You have to fulfill properly. You have to communicate properly. There's all these different intersecting skills that you learn along the way. And like people think like, okay, I've learned copywriting. Now let me just go get a client. Go get a client means like 100 different things. Like there's so many different components to getting a client that it just becomes, it's just a big learning process. Like anything else, it's just like school. Like you're like, all right, we're going to learn about the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell. Or like, we're going to learn about the cell. So what do we start with? We start with the nucleus, and then we go out and then we go to the rest of the parts of the cell. Like there's so many intersecting parts of running any type of online business, even if you're just a freelancer, you're not even an agent. I'm even talking about being an agency. Like there's just so much that you have to do, and it's all just trial and error. Like you said, it's all just how many times can I fail before I finally find the one time where it all just clicks. Like the 80%, like the 80% of garbage that you do is going to drive like the 20% of results.
Yeah.
I mean, that was us, Trev. Yeah. Like
I was just gonna say, but even after failing that long, like me and Kevin know that we have tried it. Like we've tried it. We know what it takes. And if we want to come back, we can. But for right now, that's something that just ain't gonna happen, Chief. And we
like,
would have never known that. We would have just been sitting idly by looking at everybody doing it and just been like, should I do it? Should I try it? It's like you just don't know. You have to go fail and you have to go realize what's going on in the real world and see what's happening and open yourself up to the world and take that step back.
It always reminds me of like, I tell this to a lot of, because I've talked to probably 200 plus young guys, either from Irrational Optimists, other groups that I'm in, or just from Twitter, because I have like 1,300 followers on there, like 1,500 on LinkedIn, or just people. The one thing that I think I've said the most amount of times is that whether you succeed or you fail, regardless, it's going to be one hell of a story to tell.
Yeah.
So like, even if you completely go to zero, you still learn something. Like when I went to zero with Google ads, I ran up a credit card. I ran up like $2,000 in credit card debt doing that. And I was like, what fuck do I do? Like, I'm like at complete zero. I'm working a stocking job. I make like $12 an hour. What am I supposed to do? You like go into overdrive. You're like, but wait a minute. When I was doing that, I learned that local service contractors respond better to cold calls, and they respond better to this type of pitch. So maybe I can use that for my next venture. So you fail at that, but you'll learn one little thing that you can tweak the next time you try it. And then I went into my next niche. I'm like, okay, so let me try hitting up pest control companies. I know that the last guy I talked to said that this is their big pain point. So let me try to reference that on the phone. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I got a second call. He wants to learn more. Okay, so let's get on the phone again, and then let's pitch him the service. And I'm like, I just signed a client. And it's only because I completely messed up and ran up $2,000 in credit card debt that I learned that. Like
I will say, yeah, in that 6 months that we were running our shit, we probably learned 5 years worth of information because we would
Yeah.
never get caught up on like a decision. It wasn't like we thought that it would, regardless of what we did, we'd learn from it. And so we weren't trying to do the perfect thing. It was option A or option B. We'll just pick one and see if it works, you know? And
no,
like,
that's exactly.
I just think people are afraid to fail at things and then they end up pushing kind of off the knowledge that they could learn if they were just like, hey, fuck it, who cares?
Yeah. No, it's always like the same thing where people want to start like their Twitter account, because I know a lot of us have met through Twitter, right? And it's the money Twitter world. People will literally sit there and they're like, do I make a new Twitter account? I have some friends from high school that follow me. What if they make fun of me? I'm like,
Bro,
like,
yeah, that was my first idea.
Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Like, people are gonna make fun of you anyway. Like, people make fun of me all the time because I have a big forehead. But like, okay, I have a big brain and I'm wicked strong. And like, and I have an
smart.
like, I'm wicked smart. I have an agency. Like, I built a business from zero. Like, I don't care. You can make fun of me for whatever. Like, I sit there, I'll post stuff online. Like, it's just I understand the fear. It's definitely not a crazy fear of like that people are going to judge you for something like that. It's not like completely outlandish. It's not like, oh, I'm afraid of birds. Like, it's not something ridiculous. It's definitely something that has a root in like, oh, I grew up and people ignored me because I had this one specific way I talked, or like maybe this one specific like take I had people didn't like. So I'm afraid that if I express that online, I'm going to get shit for it. And like the way I talk, like it said, if I maybe on camera you think you look weird or something like it's not unfounded, but like you will get over it. You will get over it if you sit there and you just post content for months on end. You will get over the fear. Like that is the biggest hurdle for most people, is just starting to post content online.
Yeah, that's 0 to 1. We talk about it all the time. That's starting from 0 and getting to 1. It's just the hardest step. That first step is going to take, it might take a while, but if you take it, as long as you take it, you'll find like it'll be perfect. You'll be just fine.
You get caught up too, like on tweets even. It's like, what if someone doesn't like this or they think it's stupid? Like, who cares? At least they read it. Like, you mean to tell me everyone in Jeff Bezos' life ever has thought that every idea he had was great? You know? Like, Elon Musk, how many times people told?
And that's the next point is like, look, man, if you go into any of these millionaires, billionaires, whoever you want to, the successful person that you see in your eyes, it's going to be like 10 times out of 10, they went through some stupid bullshit of where they doubted themselves or there's fear or whatever. That was the start of this podcast. It's like, look, man, everybody's going through this bullshit, man. We're all doing it. Like, if we just do it together in one spot and just kind of get together as a team and realize, look, well, this is pretty damn normal. This is nothing too crazy. Everybody goes over this little hump. And then when you get to that millionaire spot, you look back on it. And like you said, that's one hell of a story to tell. When I go years from now, me and Kevin are doing just fine. And I talk about how starting this podcast, we were on phones and we're like, oh shit, the audio sounds bad. Like, dude, who gives a fuck, dude? The audio sounds bad, bro. What?
I knew, bro. I knew. I'm like, we're gonna look back at these and cringe, but it's gonna be a good story. But like, it doesn't matter, dude. No, you don't have to be fucking Joe Rogan. Like, just push some content out there, dude.
Look at this, dude.
Dude, she's got another comment I wanted to read because it reminded me of something I said like a while ago. Yeah, that one. Shout out to you, Halicon. He said, "Don't let negative thoughts play in your mind. As soon as you start feeling low, start getting busy. I do housework and all this to sort my stuff out." And I think that that's so powerful because like there's a lot of guys that have depression and a lot of them can't even get out of bed. And it's like, well, what's that first step? And one trick that I learned is to just do something easy that you know you can do. Like for her, it's cleaning. Now that might be even too monumental. Like wipe the mirror off or something. Just like the smallest little, because it like tricks your brain because you got that easy success, that easy W, and then you can compound off that. And it's just like, I mean, shit, man, what do you do to people that are feeling, what do you say to them that are feeling low and just reel it down?
So one of the biggest things is because I have a couple of friends that are kind of in situations like that, unfortunately, where they're really depressed. that goals are mismatched. Maybe they've had some issues in college, or like what they wanted to do has changed several times. One of the things that I think got them up the most is eating. It's the Mark Twain quote. It's eating the frog in the morning. So it's like doing the hardest thing early in the day. And that's, I think, one of the most powerful things that gets a lot of those guys out of that sort of slump. They're like, wait a minute, what if I wake up and instead of me sort of droning on about, oh, my life sucks, or like, I can't do this, I can't do that. What if I find something really difficult that I know I'm going to have to do today that I just do? Usually it's like something workout related. So one of my friends, he lives at home, and he takes his little brother for a bike ride every morning. He started doing that. So every morning he takes his little brother for a bike ride to the park. And he's like, okay, now I got sun. Now I worked out. Now, like, I feel good. I got to hang out with my little brother. It was a wholesome experience. And like, because he doesn't have a lot of physical activity. So he gets up, he does something really difficult in his situation that's difficult for him, and it makes him feel really good. So he's like, okay, well, I accomplished something. So I can't be completely worthless, because I think that's what a lot of these guys think. They get themselves into this bad spot, whether that's because of they lose sight of a certain goal or something of that nature. They just get so sad and depressed. It's because it usually goes back to they don't do anything difficult, right? Like it sounds like really, really simple and stupid, but that's exactly what it is. It's because they don't challenge themselves, right? Like when I dropped out of college, this is a perfect example of this. And when I was really depressed, it was because I wasn't training anymore. I stopped training. I hadn't gone to karate in like 5 months. I hadn't gone to a class. I wasn't even working. Like when I was in between jobs, there would be months where I didn't even have a job. Like I wasn't working. I was literally waking up at like 2 p.m. just doing absolutely nothing. So like, what do you think your brain is going to make you think about yourself if you wake up and you do nothing with your day? Do you think you're going to think you're like the top G? Like, no, you're going to believe that you are useless if you do nothing. Like if you wake up at 3 p.m. and you've done nothing all day, you expect your brain to produce happy chemicals? Or like, do you think you're going to be like, wow, I suck. I did nothing.
I hope not.
Yeah, like it doesn't, it's just this incongruency where it's like you have to do things that are hard. So your brain's like, okay, I accomplished something hard, so I must be worthy of doing more things. So it's sort of, you psych yourself into it.
This is a good life hack right here. The theme song to He-Man. Go, any man listening, bro, put on some 50 Cent and tell me you don't want to go work out, and I'll show you a liar, bro.
True. So true.
So 50
That's
Cent.
a big one, though. We don't really talk about music, though, but I know me and Trevor are always listening to something, man. Constantly.
Yeah, I got something. Yeah, I got. Who was I just talking? Or no, Jelly Roll on Joe Rogan's podcast was actually talking about that, like how in the old days, like it was like a CD player or some shit, and you'd had to carry it around. And now we could just walk around with music on, and we could go from, instead of flipping, like changing CDs, it's just Kodak Black to 70s rock to 90s hip hop. Like you could just go everywhere, and it's just so cool to be able to do something like that, especially with something like music. Yeah, me and Kevin use that shit constantly. Like
my God.
All my negative emotion, a lot of it comes out through my music that I listen into. Like especially people going to the gym. A lot of men get into the gym and start listening to all this like crazy screaming stuff, and people are like, dude, how are you? Like when I first started listening to Amity Affliction, just went to their concert. Shout out to them.
Shout out, bro.
One of them will get on the show at some point, bro. I'm telling you.
We're coming for you, Amity Affliction.
Yeah, no. Aaron, a bunch of Australian dudes. But you get into this like screaming music, and I started playing it, and like I was like, hey mom, check out this song. And my mom was like, what the hell is your problem? Like how could you listen to this? Like,
what is your problem?
Yeah, like how could you possibly listen to this? Like this is insane, dude.
Because it hypes me up.
I'm like, mom, yeah, because like they're pissed off and I'm pissed off. Like we both pissed off over the same thing. We're both struggling and we're mad about it. All right.
Like, I mean, shit. Trevor, every day this man sends me a text to some lyric, and I love it because it's like, okay, this is how he's feeling right now. It's like such a good. You got the one today, bro, from Kodak. Dude, it's like, it's such a good window. That's what I love about music, man. There's always a lyric that can express how you feel.
Yep. What was it? It was
Pull
Yeah,
up,
Kodak Black. I was blinded by all the fake love. It clouds my judgment.
and
I'm
it's just
fucking-
like, bro,
That's awesome. That's
I'm
the thing
thinking
that-
the same, bro. I'm like, oh, fake love, dude. Like it gets me thinking, and I'm just like, I get to like a window into Trevor's mind, and then it makes me think too.
Yeah,
And then sometimes it's just dumb funny shit.
it could be anything too. Yeah, like the what yesterday was another Kodak Black. I call it quits. Found out my baby girl a big hoe.
Oh, big hoe, huge. It's short, huge.
I'm like, dude, I'm gonna send it on over, whatever. Like
It's
and
funny.
it's my brothers too. We just throw it back and forth, especially my little brother. Shout out to Jimmy. He's big into, he don't work out, but he's big into that whole the whole screaming music and stuff. And I know when he's sending me that, he's feeling that way. Like he's not just gonna send me it just because it's like an okay beat. Like, no, he's sending me because he resonated with this song and it's time for me to listen to what he's got to say. Something like that. It's a way to talk to people. What's your favorite genre, dude? What do y'all listen to in the martial art gym?
It's a ton of rap and rock, dude. It's all like, so it's always such a funny story. So my mom loves Linkin Park. That was like one of her favorite bands of all time. Like huge Linkin
Rest
Park.
in peace, just fucking, what's his name? Chad?
Chad, yeah, I think it was Chad, yeah. So she has all their CDs, and before I even start, I can remember like barely, like, or I guess as I was starting martial arts, she would always play like Linkin Park CDs when we would drive to class, and then they would play Linkin Park songs during class. They would do that. It was like the Evanescence. They played a bunch
Oh,
of that.
yeah,
was on
man.
the playlist,
Like
yeah.
Avenged Sevenfold.
And then like various rap songs that were not like profanity. Like there was some 50 Cent in there. But
Yeah,
it's a lot of old rock and rap and just anything in that realm. Like think anything that you think resembles Linkin Park would probably be worth playing at any Americanized karate school. But yeah, we're talking about music. So a lot of guys I think have this problem where they just listen to Juice WRLD and then or stuff like that.
Oh,
Hey,
Oh,
my
God.
man.
Trevor went to high school with him, actually, would you believe?
Believe it or not.
Swear
Yeah,
to
well,
God.
that's my boy. Yeah,
That's the story. There you
yeah.
go.
That's the boy,
Wow.
Gerard.
This is a good point, though, to bring up with this comment, too, though. It says, I have to interject. It's not real instruments. It's not music. It's nursery rhymes. Real music is done by musicians, not people rhyming words in the studio, creating beats, but to each their own. That I respect. And I have heard people that don't listen to music with lyrics in it because lyrics affect your mind. It's like when you got your divorce, Trevor, you were listening to Juice WRLD heavy.
Oh, man, I'll tell you right now, Juice WRLD, Whit Lowry. No one knows of this man.
Lowry. No,
Whit Lowry
know,
yeah. Wow, I'm surprised. Yeah, no, that dude.
Yeah.
His lyrics are like great lyrics, but sad lyrics. I remember sending my mom songs back to back. NF, another good one.
NF,
sending my mom songs. So when I was overseas going through my divorce, like that's all I listened to was his album came out while I was overseas. What is it? Search. That album came out literally like 4 days after I was getting news this chick sleeping around. So I was just on like repeat with all these songs, just every day waking up and listening to this. And then when I got home and was going through the struggle, same thing, listening to Juice WRLD, like you're saying, just Juice WRLD, Whit Lowry. And I was sending these songs to my mom. My mom was like, Trev, man, you got to stop. And of course, it's my mom. So I'm like, whatever, mom. But now I'm like, oh my God, it makes so much sense. Like I get it now. And now it's going reverse. Like I'm helping my mom realize some shit like that too. Like it's music, just like we were talking on the last episode about movies. Music can definitely affect your subconscious. Kev, who do you listen to that has the right beats? They play, is it Lord or
Lord?
Is that her?
Lord has these beats, yeah. And my wife showed me some of her songs, and they have those healing frequencies, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's just like that. It's such a cool thing. I mean, there'd be times Trevor would playing Juice WRLD on the speaker in our engine shop, and like I would get sad listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm not even sad right now. If you are, I can't see this.
Why am I feeling sad? It's like, oh, I just did this great. I just like worked out. I'm all pumped up. Why am I sad now? What happened?
It's like, oh my goodness gracious. It's like,
but for like me, I didn't know even how to express my emotions at all.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea how to do it. So that's music is the easiest way. There's people love the music for a reason, especially like Juice WRLD. That's what got me to realize that the country is in crisis. Juice WRLD popped off in like a year within a year popped off. Everybody knew his name, household name almost. I'm like, why is this happening? Why do you think this is happening? Him, the XXX guy, RIP, both of them, I think. And it's like, where is this all coming from? We went from like NWA type shit, went into, a couple other different raps, and now we're here. Like, how did we get here to where we got people standing up for their culture and now we're just all sad? It's like the whole country sad for a reason. Like, but it's just it's so easy to express emotions through someone else's music, especially when because you feel it, man. When a good song comes on, like I'll get them chills, everything, man. It would be it's unreal.
No, I just drove. We just went to New Hampshire. Me and a bunch of my friends just went to New Hampshire. We were hiking some of the White Mountains up there, and we were playing. Every guy should know it. You know those playlists that are like white people get turned. Like
I love them. Yeah.
White, oh yeah. So that all the 4-hour drive up there, it was just white people get turned music. So like every old like 2010 pop song just come on, the whole vibe just instantly changes.
Oh yeah.
What? Oh, I feel so good right now. It feels so close to you right now.
Like yes, dude.
If that comes on, everybody starts bumping it. You're like, wow, this made us feel really good. Like
Kev, what was I was playing? There's a mix on SoundCloud, Big Booty Mix. Kev started hating me for it, but it was I started taking the aux at work. If you've never listened to Big Booty Mix, it's just like that. Like it's White Boy Summer, but it's like DJ and mixing like the words. They don't finish the song. It's you get the verse, and then they do a drop, and then it's another song with another verse. It's just within minutes you go from fist bumping to this song, then you get a cool drop of whatever it is, like Michael Scott yelling no or whatever it is. You're like, oh, that's a great one. And then you go into like, it's just the mood you get into when you're listening to the song. Like, it just, you could poison your brain very quickly. I was stuck on that path.
It's like a beat, and then it'll go, damn it, Dwight, enough. Like, it is so cool. But no, this right here, I read this and I was very taken back by it. Just because, like, to get serious real quick, this is why we do the show. And you say you don't suffer with depression anymore. I'm very grateful for that. But we can't really express how much comments like this mean to us. This is why we do we don't make any money from this show. In fact, it costs us money to make the show. But when people tell us that we help them and stuff, it makes it all worth it. But I did want to ask, though, if you say that musicians and stuff are like bands and whatnot, you got any recommendations for us on real music? Because I'd be interested. I'm always down to hear it, dude.
On some real music. Yeah, I used to get in the car. My dad would have all these jazz songs on. And it's like, dude, he's just listening, just cruising down the road just to some beats.
You want to know what my dad would listen to, bro? We were listening to NPR. That's it.
NPR. Oh my
nothing.
God.
He still does this. Shout out to Dad, bro. He
still does this.
Dead silence for hours, or NPR, and it's like I was in like middle school worrying about how we're gonna get out of Iraq. It made me really informed. Well, I know you ain't got
nothing like that. My parents would put on K-Love.
K-Love?
Christian music, yeah. Like,
yeah.
So like if my mom takes my car when I go, because I have like my own music, and I'll turn the car on and K-Love is playing. I'm like, okay.
Damn it, Mom.
I don't mind it because like I go to church, so I listen to
Oh, let's get into that then real quick, man. I just started going to church. Never grew up religious, never did anything religious. Still not like the crazy religious guy preaching it to everyone. But I went for the first time 3 weeks ago, I believe. Yeah, right. 3 weeks ago. And even today, before this, I went to the coffee shop with one of the dudes and just chopped it up for like 2.5 hours. Just talk. He asked me about my life. I asked him about his. And believe it or not, it was really cool because this is something I've been working on. But by the end of the conversation, he said, what surprised him the most just from the get-go was how open I was. It's like, man, I'm working on not being as open. Like it's something that can ruin you, but also bring light to the situation. So you got to find the right medium.
Yeah.
But it was so cool. And even after the show, he invited me over to his place to go watch the NBA Finals game with the pastor too. So now I'm meeting up with the pastor after the show. We're gonna carpool together over there, and it's just every Sunday you wake up, go to this place, and everyone's smiling. But I've never had a bad experience with a church, so I don't know what the bad experiences are yet. I go in there with a positive mindset and get something positive out of it most of the time, you know. So I haven't touched into the bad side. I've only seen the good sides. I guess if you want, just kind of start. Where'd you start with your where'd you get started with religion? Yeah, and kind of what's your big for someone who has like who is completely in the dark right now? What's the big point you could try and get across? Like, is not trying to convince them or anything, just something that's like helped you. Like for me, just believing that there's a path that I'm on, and I could step back and just pay attention to my own actions and my own mind and realize that that's coming from somewhere. I don't know where. I will never know where. Just to be able to do that has taken so much weight off my shoulders.
So
yeah,
I think so. You're talking about Christian. You're a Christian. You're going to.
Yeah, I'm going to a non-denominational Christian. Yeah.
Perfect. This is perfect example. Money. So again, I think a lot of this sort of goes back to being a well-rounded man. So I think a lot of guys get psyoped into thinking that it's all about money. So I think everything today, you just see cars online, you see Lambos, you see all this. Every advertisement you get is just somebody flashing money in your face. So none of this really matters if there's no sort of grand purpose, right? This is what a lot of people don't sort of conceptualize when they hear about religion the first few times. Like, what's the point of doing any of this if there's no afterlife? Like, there's no, what's the point of you doing good things? What's the point of me having nice conversations with people on a podcast? What's the point of me doing any good at all if there's no like grand place that I am rewarded with? There's no grand good that I am rewarded with, or there's no punishment for people doing evil. Like, so nothing matters then, essentially. We're just flesh on a rock.
Yeah, that's where I got when I ended up divorced and getting out the army. I'm like, wait, so none of this matters? I was just as good as I could be, and this is where I ended up. Like, what the hell? What am I doing all this good for then?
Yeah, no, they absolutely. So in non-denominational churches, I think are actually one of the best ways for people to get into religion, because they don't sort of go really hard into, because you have all these different forms of sects of Christianity, right? You have friggin' Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, Congregational. You have all these different types of Christianity that all interpret the Bible in these different ways, some convoluted, some not. The best thing I think about non-denominational churches is that they just read the verse and then they just tell you what it said. Like, they don't do any of these crazy interpretations. They just read the verse and say, God said this. Let's talk about what that means in the 21st century. Like, it's not this, God said this, so maybe that means that he was inferring that you do this. Like, there's none of that. That's what always sort of threw me off, because I went to church really young, but then I was actually an atheist for most of like my middle and high school life.
Many such
things. Yeah, so I like mega atheist. Like, I was like,
same. I was the same way, bro.
Yep.
So, and I was like that, I think, because like I said, I was saying before, I was a science kid. So I was always like, everything must be explained by the power of science. Like, there can be no grand creator, because it is all explainable through the laws that we've created on our journey throughout history as humans. But like I was saying, the non-denominational churches are great, because for the average person, they just want to know what the Bible says. They want to know what God is. They don't want to know all of this like history that's unrelated, or they don't want to know, like, they don't want to hear a verse and then hear it reread to them or interpreted 9 different ways. They want to know, okay, so God, this is what God is. This is what he did for me. This is how I am redeemed through Christ. And this is what I can do to be a better Christian or a better person.
Right. And like even the baseline understanding of who God is, who Jesus is, like I told him right away when I first walked in there, shook hands with him and everything. It's like, dude, I got nothing. Like, I don't know anything, but my God, before I stepped into here and in the army, I truly, genuinely believed that my grandmother was my God. And if I just pleased my grandmother, nothing can go wrong. She's watching over me. It's a little guardian angel, and she'll give me all the signs I need. And then it's like, well, if that's the case, then where is she? Is she just back in the back of my head? Like, where is she at? well, it's just in my mind. Well, what is my mind? Where am I getting this mind from? Because no one can explain consciousness. No one can. You can't explain how the mind works. We've been trying for how many years? The mind's been around for how many years? We still can't explain how lobsters, like we just figured out how to explain how lobsters work. Like Jordan Peterson just finally figured that shit
The
out.
lobsters.
Yeah. Like we just figured that shit out after how many thousands and thousands of years. We will never figure out the mind. And that was my problem, is I'm just sitting at home, especially when I was depressed. I was just trying to figure out how exactly the mind works. What happens to the mind and why? I can never figure out the why.
Mhm.
The why is unanswerable to me, because I can't comprehend how hard it would be to even control, like, or to make a mind and create the mind. And then it was just so hard to comprehend. You can't. And then you get, like, if I can't, and this book's been around for the past 2,000 years, this book has got to mean something for that reason. And so I just walked in and said, look, man, I don't know nothing. Just teach me what you know. And like you said, it's just, here's a verse, or today we'll cover these 3 verses. And the pastor who's been, reading the Bible for 16, 17 years, he knows how to tell us in the realest way possible in the 21st century, so that I don't have to go read through Art Thou, whatever.
You don't gotta read it. You don't got to read it in Hebrew to try to figure out what it means.
Yeah, in Greek. Yeah.
I mean,
it's just, go ahead, Kev.
It makes sense too. Like, the Bible is one of the most, like, there's such an effort to denigrate it. And I think it has been since it was written. And it's just like, okay, to me, that means something. Whatever, like, I'm just reading the chat right now, and we got to get this dude on for real, though.
Yeah.
But he brings up there's so many gods throughout history. And to me, that says one thing, is that there's a need for religion. There would not be all these gods since the dawn of man if there wasn't a need for it. And so to me, it says, like, was every other human that ever lived just incorrect in thinking that there is a need to believe in a higher power? Just listening to that, it sounds to me like, oh, I'm right, everyone else is incorrect. It's like the same argument you hear with communism. It would work if it was done correctly, meaning it would work if they did it how I want it. What's he say? So I think I think religion is inevitable in evolution.
Yeah, it's,
I just the distinction too between, like, science and, like, there can't be evolution and religion. I don't think that that's correct. I can't see how they are mutually exclusive.
I mean, one of the biggest things with religion for me is just that, like you just said, there's so many attempts to degrade it because of the values that are purported in the Bible are conducive to a healthy civilization.
Boom.
For the most part. So with all the attempts to degrade the information that's presented to us in the Bible, it just seems like everything today is a battle between good and evil. That's how it seems like. That's how it seems to me. Like, when I was an atheist for that long, the reason I changed is because my mom almost died. So she was very, very close to death, like brain aneurysm, very, like,
Wow.
on the verge of death.
Whoa.
And by the grace of God, she survived it. So that was when I changed to believing in God. I was like, there is no, like, there has to be some reason why she's still here. Like, she was scared. She was absolutely
That's what I'm saying. There's
scared
no
by
science. Like, the science, when you when you go in and you, like, there's people with cured blindness out of nowhere. There is no science explaining this. Like, you can't explain it with science. Well, then where's it coming from? Do we just not know it yet? Maybe we do. Maybe we just don't know it yet. But in the process of trying to figure it out, we have to believe that there is good in it from somewhere. Otherwise, we live in this dark, evil world, and we don't believe everyone is good. We start believing everyone's bad.
Because,
Like,
yeah, what it's kind of sounding like this dude is saying is that if we understood the science of all life, kind of, in the science of everything, we wouldn't need religion.
That's a very good point.
What do you say about that, Matthew?
That's a very good point. If we really understood, because when you look at how science talks about any concept, they talk about it as if we have a complete understanding of it. Like when we talk
Yeah.
about like brain science or anything related to something that could be construed as like the soul of a human, because that's what you learn in Christianity is that we have a soul. Anything that is in that realm, we think we totally understand it. Like there are, of course, there's plenty of people that are studying how the brain works. But if you go up to a neurologist and you say something about the brain, they'll give you a explanation for it. And they think that that's the only conceivable way that that thing could happen. Like they just have, it is blocked. Like if you tell them anything about like, there could be, hey, maybe we have a soul. Maybe that soul controls sort of some sort of outward presentation of our characteristics or how we think and what we believe in, the characteristics that we have in relation to our creator. If you say that to a neurologist, it just goes in one ear and out the other because they think they have it all figured out, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because we need smart doctors to help the world function. Like when people be like, oh, but why are there doctors? Why doesn't God fix everything? Like God put those doctors here to help fix his people.
Yeah.
Like those people
we're not praying away brain cancer.
Those people have their own destiny to fulfill. So it's just like when you talk to any scientist, they think they have it all figured out, but it just seems like if you tell them any explanation that isn't rooted in some sort of scientific concept, that it just goes in one ear and out the other. Like there's no way to.
Yeah, shit. Even the word science, I think, has been kind of bastardized recently. Like, how many times did you hear "trust the science" in the last 3 years, as if it was settled? It's been settled for billions of years, and turns out to be incorrect. It's like, okay, well, that's why people don't trust the science, is because science always changes.
These theories are always changing too. All of these established scientific concepts will change 5-10 times every decade. Like we'll learn something new about muscular anatomy. We'll learn something new about how to get more swole faster. Like we'll learn something new about brain chemistry.
Yeah, the seed oils are big right now.
Yeah, there's so many new concepts that are changing.
My biggest thing, man, was the coincidences. There's way too many times where I almost got hit by a car, or I am in this position and run into this dude, or whatever it is, and it's just I cannot explain it. There is no explanation. The science couldn't explain it. The other day, almost me and my sister, if she just went when the light turned green, we would have been toppled over by a car going 50. Instead, for whatever reason, she took a 2-second pause before she went. I don't know, like who knows why? Maybe if I wasn't in the car, she wouldn't have taken that pause. Who knows? I have no idea. But it started to get depressing when I started realizing, why are they keeping me alive and not all these other people that deserve to live? It's like, well, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason.
And that's
maybe
like
that's where it is. Like thinking that there's a reason for everything. Yeah, that's like the third time. Maybe that's what it is there. Maybe there isn't a reason for everything. But if there's no reason for everything, what do you believe in? You have to believe a reason or something, right?
One of the coolest concepts that relates to this is I think it's the zip theory or something. And it goes back to the quote of, oh, how orderly a fashion everything in this world marches. So it's like there's so many things that happen on Earth that just seem like there is no possible way that it could have ever been just nature. That's just how nature works. Like, there's so many like numbers that align in different facets of nature, numbers that align in parts of the human body, or designs of different species, designs of nature and different landscapes that just align so ridiculously perfectly that there is no way that it could just be explained by science.
Dude, I brought that up yesterday, Trev. Like, what was the Earth like made a planet, or how whatever it is, like 4 billion years ago, and now we're here because some fish wanted to walk on land? It's like, I'm sorry, I understand the evolutionary kind of way to justify that. It just seems a bit far-fetched to me that all just happened on account of it happening. I don't fault people for thinking that. Like if you believe that, go for it, man. To me, that seems a bit far-fetched.
Yeah, no, I mean, like the first thing I said, I think it's very difficult especially this is all about men's mental health too. I think it makes things a lot easier for you if you believe that there is some sort of grand purpose for everything.
Yeah, no, that's like
if you think that you're just some kind of meat puppet and you just walk around and have no destiny, like you're not going to think very highly of your own actions or the results of those actions. You're just going to think that you kind of exist and do whatever. Like,
Yeah,
if
that's
you
what I was saying.
believe
Like
that
my
you have a
shoulders.
purpose, yeah, like
it's just weight off your shoulders. Dude, millions of years of evolving is how it all came about. You can trace and document every single step.
Yeah, we're not arguing the fact that that happened. Like, of course that occurred. We're arguing, though, that the sequence in which it happened so perfectly can't be the result of just evolution.
Yeah.
And honestly, I could be wrong, but like, it's just, there's so many things in life that I think really just are not coincidences, and that recognizing the fact that they aren't really helps people. It's like when Trevor didn't have any faith at all. I knew that it was going to help him. It was just like, okay, how do I kind of introduce this to him to where it's not me preaching in? Because I mean, I hated that. Like, as in
Yeah.
Colorado, it happened a
Agreed.
lot. People be outside the high school saying you're going to go to fucking hell if you're
Burn
gay
in
or whatever.
hell,
Burn in hell if you're gay.
burn
Swear
in
it's
hell.
all the time. It's like people don't like it.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. But like, tell me not, you're not better off now because you have found God.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing is it's not like, oh, let me do God so that I can like it's not, oh, I found God. I have to like cold turkey stop all the sinning that or all the bad things I'm doing. It's like I found God and now I've understand who Jesus is. And I'm like, I need to live up to somebody's expectations because I'm not going to set on my own. If you set your own expectations,
Yeah.
who knows where they're going to be. But someone has created expectations for you already. It's laid out for you. And for someone struggling with mental health, not know where to go, not know what to do, it's a lot easier to think, look, man, it's going to be all right because someone's already taken care of that. There's a reason you're here. There's a reason you're going on to the next. What do I do? Relax.
Just
You relax.
chill, bro.
You just chill for a second.
it's also funny because what's the penalty for me believing that that is how it works? Like I'm ordained by God and I have this grand purpose. What is the penalty for me doing that versus you? It's kind of a messed up way to think about it, but I say it all the time. If I believe it this way and it's not true, and I just will go into a void and never exist again, whatever. But if it is true and you didn't believe in it because you think that we're just a meat puppet, you're going down there.
Yeah, that's exactly what my mom said when I started going to church. She's like, that's exactly what I think is if
And also,
sure, it might not be true.
Yeah, like there's a huge benefit to me believing that I have this grand destiny and that I'm put on this earth to do great things and help great people and like employ people on the other side of the world or like help people build businesses or talk to cool guys online and spread a positive message. There's no penalty to me believing that. There is only good that can come from me believing in that.
It's like if I die and I'm being judged and it's like a Muslim God or something or a Jewish God, it's like, okay, so be it.
So be it.
Okay, yeah, what are you going to do? And it's like, if you're a God, think about it. You can't really get mad at people for not hearing your message or something, It's just like, you could be wrong. If this all is for nothing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And if it does, it'll be a good thing then anyway.
Yeah, you lived up to something.
To answer this question, though, how can God make a stone so heavy he cannot lift it? I don't know. But like, how can science explain how people in comas can hear people? I also don't know. There's stuff we don't know about both of them. And that's okay, man. Like religion doesn't know anything. Science doesn't know anything. I think it brings a lot more people together than it does apart. I think it's a net positive.
It's caught a bad rap because it's turned into a whole money grab in certain spots or the pedophile stuff and all of that. And it's just turned into a bad situation. And to me, that's also got to be a reason why our founding fathers decided, look, we could build a whole nation on this shit. You think they thought like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well,
we could build a whole nation on this shit.
Because
now that we're not following it, now that the majority of the people are not following it, the nation is falling apart. So to me, that's not a coincidence. Yeah, like
I mean, yeah, I would argue too. Yeah, like the founding fathers didn't really think that the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, could be successful if most people weren't Christian.
Yeah, this
like
America
you
was
have
founded for Christian people. Yeah.
you have free speech, right? How do you know people aren't going to go around saying all this nasty stuff to each other? It's like the kind of underlying point was, if we're all Christian, this will work. But if we're not, then I mean, we're seeing what happens with that right now. This is fun though. It's fun having chats, man. Shout out to you,
Yeah.
Halikon. We don't agree on everything, but I respect you, and I could tell you respect us. So we got to have you on the show. But it's interesting, man. This is one of those debates men has had for ever.
But it's also it's go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just the religion topic in general is just so important for anything men's health related. I think because it's part of being a well-rounded man, right? Like I think faith is one of the points that you need to be a well-rounded man. Like I was saying before, a lot of guys today were psyoped into thinking it's all about the cash. Like it's not. It physically cannot be all about the cash. Like, there has to be something else that it is about besides cash. Like you can have the most money on the planet, and then you can have every Bugatti that exists on the earth. But then, like if you're alone, you're probably still gonna be sad. You'll be crying in that Bugatti. Like the joke is like, I'd rather cry in a Ferrari than whatever and whatever else. You will be crying in that Bugatti.
Rather than raising a family, honestly.
Yeah, you like
that's another thing is if we don't have some type of religion, what is the grounding, like the base of morality? That's the problem. Is right now we've lost religion and we don't know what is morally right and morally wrong, or what's meant to be here and what's not. Like there are some things that are not meant to be here. And we could all point like to this guy running up, shooting up every school or whatever it is. Like there are things out there that aren't meant to be here. There are things that are supposed to be here. Like we don't know the ground base of morality. And if I'm a pretty smart guy, and this is a big point I touch on, is a lot of the smart people, like the scientists, say we don't need religion. If you step shoes into someone like Forrest Gump or someone who has low IQ, who can't think like we do, then you've got a problem, because we need to explain to them what is right and what is wrong, especially, or even a kid without a parent or whatever it is. So somewhere we have to explain what is right and what is wrong. Yeah. And that's what this book that's been around for 2,000 years has been doing.
It's like, do we all do we all know what's right and wrong just kind of intrinsically? It's like, I mean, I guess, but like if I'm without God, right, I could think it's right to stab you in the neck, Trevor. When in reality, one man's right is not, like, there's no real like objective morality, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, you guys hit the nail on the head. Yeah, there's no science doesn't give us morality. It's the simplest way to put it.
We're all just
no morality.
bags.
Like, there's the laws of nature, but the laws of nature say that the lions get to eat all the other animals. Like, that's the law of nature. Like, can I eat Trevor? Like, is that how this works? Like, if
I mean, with all that training, you probably could. Yeah.
Like, if I'm supposed to go up to Trevor and like beat the shit out of him and like cook him up, like
I should be giving arm bars to everyone and their mother just because I can.
The Indian burn to everybody.
Yeah, dude. Whoa.
No, I mean, with the laws, if we just go purely by the laws of nature, then yeah, that's how it works. Like, I can kill both of you and eat you. Like,
can assault you anyway, like sexually too. There's no like penalty. That happens constantly in nature.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Religion is the basis for all this. And
we don't need a God to tell us.
You don't need a God to tell us. Of course, I've heard that a lot too. That's like one of the biggest sort of.
Yeah, but when I'm sitting there meditating, who's talking to me?
Science.
You know, like what? Yeah, science. Like
science.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it just seems when I'm just sitting there and thoughts are flowing, or when I wake up tomorrow and I'm feeling absolutely electric from nowhere. It's like, where did this come from? Is this like, do I keep going with what I'm doing now? It just seems like there's someone talking to me. I'm not just going through the motions anymore. Right? That's what I was doing when I was depressed. I was just going through the motions, and now there's a purpose behind everything is kind of what it is. And that's the biggest question Marcus Aurelius asks. What's your purpose? That's what I wrote on my wall 2.5 years ago. Like, what the hell am I doing here? What is my purpose? If you have someone tell you what your purpose is, like through God, and that's not just like, oh, God, your purpose is to follow God. No, it's more of staying in tune with your subconscious mind to where you could kind of tell, oh, this is a little piece of information that has been placed in front of my face for a damn reason. And it is someone put it there. I have realized it. So like these coincidences, I've realized this coincidences, and it's there for a reason. Wherever it came from, it is there for a reason. And then you stem from that and you're like, okay, well, maybe God put it there. And now maybe I need to follow this. And now it's a path put in my way for a reason. I didn't just wake up one day and think, oh, let me go to the gym. Like, no, my cousin came down here. It was a huge move. I'm in the gym. And now 4 years later, there's been a reason I've been in the gym. I feel good, look good, whatever it is. It's just there. Maybe it's because I want a reasoning for everything. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But that's where you find the reasoning if you're looking for one.
I think Matt just said it so perfectly. Suppose we are wrong about all this. It won't matter then, you know?
Yeah.
But you don't have to agree with it, but if it's making people happier and more fulfilled.
Yeah.
And then the product of being incorrect on that is actually nothing. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand it, man.
No, I mean, what Trevor just said is perfect, because a lot of people, when they struggle with anything related to religion, it's because they think that God is giving them a random new purpose. That's not how it works. You are led to your authentic purpose by God. So it's not that by believing in religion, all of a sudden your life is going to drastically change. It was already like that. That you were already on a particular destiny, or you were already going somewhere. It's just now you're going to recognize these little things like, oh, I'm being led here because of this coincidence, but you now know that it's not.
You just hang on. He just made a point for us.
The universe is huge, and to think of us as this insignificant blue dot has worked out all this is just silly. To me, that seems like a great way to get depressed thinking like that. And you know, I don't fault you for thinking that. I'm just saying it might not be the most beneficial way to think.
And this is another thing. We're not thinking one religion is right, the other one's wrong. I say all the time, I think Islam religions, I think they've got it better. Or you can look, this was another big problem. I looked at the Jewish community and I realized, like, no, these people are all together and like they
thriving,
are killing it.
Thriving.
Like, it's brought a community. So what we preach over here at Mind Over Matter and why we started is to build a community for people to help them out. And I believe that's the bottom line of religion, is to build a community for people. Like I said, when I walk up into Sunday and I go to church, people are genuinely smiling because they know we're going to learn something better today. And we are here for we're here for a good reason. If I'm here, let me smile about it, you know?
No, that's literally perfect, because that's sort of goes into I mentioned Tate before. Yeah. What happens with a lot of these different things like religion, figureheads on the internet, or like people in culture, is that you need to have the capability of nuance. You need to be able to take something from Tate that you think is positive for your life. You need to be able to take something from Christianity that you believe impacts you in a positive way. And you need to meld that and create an amalgamation of a person that you believe is good. Like, you can take something from everybody. It's like your typical cliche. You can learn something from everybody. You can also learn something from every religion and every figurehead and every pop culture personality. Like, you have to be able to look at, like, oh, this person, I might not really agree with everything they say, but he said this one thing and he sticks by it, and I really like that. So I'm going to adopt that, or I'm going to sort of question or think about that a little bit more, and then maybe I'll adopt that same way of thinking because I think it makes me a better person.
You're just called to it. Yeah.
You're just like, you don't have to, like, if you like something that somebody says, you don't have to carbon copy their view on the thing. You can just think, oh, that was a good point.
Wait, no. Yeah. Come on. This is 2023, bro. You got to agree with people on absolutely
everything.
Yeah, bro.
It's a skill that nobody has. It's a skill that it's a very hard skill to train. It's just
to critically think.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to actually train.
I mean, there are a lot of people that are just filled with so much like hate for people now. It's like, I don't even know if they can. They're kind of blinded by their hatred, you know, and that kind of, like with Trump, there are so many people that hate him. One would love to see him hung on the streets of DC right now.
Yeah.
And that if he did anything good, like I bring up the Abraham Accords, people that hate him, and they just have never heard of it, or when I tell them about it, say, "Oh, well, it's Trump, so there's got to be some malicious intent behind." That's the closest we've had to peace in the Middle East since ever, probably.
Yeah.
And but because the orange Hitler guy said it's got to be bad. It's just, man, you got to be able to separate the message from the messenger and say you don't need to agree with I don't agree with Trevor on absolutely everything, and that's
fuck you,
okay.
dude.
Bro, get out of here. You're ugly. You like hockey, bro. I don't even
You're ugly. You're
like
stupid.
hockey.
You're ugly.
Yeah, it's all cold. You need a coat. And
No, and another big, just so we could top this one off, is one of the big things I realized just from listening to Jordan Peterson, and he's very into the religion and everything. And just to step back and listen to him as person to person, listening to him, he's just explaining stories from a book, and these stories are old. And maybe we're in a tough spot now because we've lost the track of these stories, but it all started with this guy has helped these many people in this way. Here, these are their stories.
These are
and we listen to the stories, we watch the stories, and we get whatever we can get out of them. And that's what this podcast is just stories on stories on stories on stories, and people could get pieces of information out, build their lives back up. But it's the positive stories we need to listen to. And sadly, I don't know where to go to find positive stories anymore. You can go search YouTube right now. You will not it'll take you a minute to find a positive story.
Yeah.
It'll take forever. This is just where I found and the stories aren't just all positive. It's going through some tough time. There's a lesson in there, whatever it is. But we're reading books on science. We're reading books on science all the time, just taking whatever the science book says and putting a spin on it, whatever it is. That's how we grow. This is the same thing with religion. I'm learning about the religion. I'm going to take this is why there's 300, 500, whatever different denominations of Christianity, because we take it, we spin it, and we go from there. But it's just a big cluster.
There's such a lack, I think, of content with people that disagree and not like fighting each other. Like, I think that's what we've lost in 2023. It's just we can disagree with people and not hate them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess hatred and all of these arguments is what gets the most clicks.
Yeah,
so that's what you have to press. It's like when they have all the girls on these dating podcasts. It's the exact same concept. It's like they have these girls on and they ask these potentially inflaming questions because it gets the most crazy responses.
Yeah,
that's the most views, the most clicks. Which, I mean, it's just how the internet works. It's how you have to make money if you're going to run something like that. But I mean, that's the culture we've created.
Yeah, we don't see you as a heathen, bro. I respect you, and I think you're a great dude. I don't agree with you, but I still think you're a good person.
Look, man, we need people. This is the thing too, and the religion doesn't stress it because we got the rap of like, hey, you need to be part of religion. No, we need people like my dad and this dude to go do the science, because I don't want to dig into. I don't know the science. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you guys are happy with saying I don't know, and you're cool with saying there's no religion, and you want to follow the science to find out, that's fine. But to me, I cannot, like, when I don't know, it almost infuriates me, and I can't myself sit there and try and figure out what I don't know, because I'll be there all day trying to figure out something I can't figure out.
If I get a brain tumor,
there's science guys out there.
I'm not going to the preacher if I got a brain tumor.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wanted to ask real quick, Matt, you ever heard of a guy named Daryl Davis?
No.
He is a black dude, and when he was young, his mom told him about racism when he was like 10, and he didn't understand how people could hate him if they didn't know him. And so this dude started talking to Klansmen, like actual, like, not like racist, like wearing the hoods, like in the fucking KKK. And he actually got like 300 of them to leave the Klan, like gave him their robes and shit, right?
What the
but
fuck?
One of his famous quotes I remember was, "If people are talking, they're not fighting." And that's how he was able to kind of influence that change, is that he saw the power of conversation. And, of course they disagree, bro. Like, they're in the Klan. But like, if he can do that with them, I think that anyone can have a conversation with anyone. Because, and honestly, too, it kind of forces you to challenge your own viewpoints and make sense of more stuff. And I think we both learned stuff.
Yeah. No, and this is a good one just to bring up. Be brave, embrace it, embrace the unknown. Look, man, I don't know what your definition of brave is recently. It has changed. I was brave enough to go overseas and fight and risk my life. If you want to call that brave, I like to call the people I served with brave for doing that. Sometimes you just get into it and you end up doing it for whatever reason, money, whatever it is, to support your family, whatever. However, I think the one thing, and this is what me and Kevin talk about, is finding common ground in these arguments or these discussions. And that is the one thing. If we are all in agreement on embracing the unknown, you can do it without a God. That's what I use God for. So it's a mix up, but that's what I use it for, is to embrace the unknown. And this, I don't know how to deal with it otherwise. It's just, it starts getting in my head and I'm like, well, what the hell did I do wrong? And then it gets into this why me, or whatever it is. And it's just like, you know what, man, I don't know. So we're both saying, like you said at the beginning, we're both, all of us saying we don't know. At least we're all saying that. Like you said, we don't know what we don't know, man. It's just as simple as it gets.
Whatever you need to conceptualize your purpose is whatever you need.
Brilliant.
Whatever vehicle that you use to conceptualize, here's what I'm here to do on this earth. It doesn't really matter. The vehicle it's wholly irrelevant. The only thing that really matters is like the end result of the actions.
Yeah.
If you're following a religion and the way you're following it is causing you to act in a way that is not conducive to a healthy person, then stop doing it. Like, you're not, like, usually people aren't that stupid, for lack of a better word. Like, if you realize, okay, this vehicle that I'm using to figure out life isn't really that good, and I think I'm kind of depressed, so maybe I'll try a new vehicle. So that's how you figure things out. You find a new lens to look at life through, and you
like the radical Islamists, I could argue, probably would be better off with a little more science. You know?
There you go.
That's just, if it's causing destruction, then like, man, I don't know, man. You might be on the wrong path. Sorry, they're an easy example to pick, but it is true.
Yeah.
Well, shit, man. What an episode. I like that. Yeah, the chat, so you could just kind of
This is
go
cool,
off
man.
into
Hey, shout out to y'all for watching, though. That means a ton to me, for real.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, that's unbelievable. Kev, we'll leave it open for your famous last question, big dog.
Shoot, I
got one.
No, I was too busy in the discussion.
We talked about a lot of different things.
Yeah,
again, that all tie back into like Men's Mental Health Month, which is cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you this then.
All right, there you go.
Matt, is what gives you a sense of purpose?
Okay, what gives me a sense of purpose, I think, was mostly developed when I found religion, ironically, which was that it's spreading good into the world in some form or fashion. I think that when you're blessed with certain abilities, whether that be intellect or physical capability or anything in that realm, that you are responsible to bring that into the world and help other people with those same things. So however you believe that you were blessed or given or developed certain abilities, I think you are responsible to bring those things and those concepts to other people. So like, let's say you're blessed with a superior intellect and you can understand science really well. I think you are responsible to be, you don't have to become a scientist, but in some form or fashion, I think you are given purpose by using that God-given talent to help other people. So whether that, like, if you're a fitness trainer, like those are your most direct examples. Like, say you're helping people get in better shape, you're helping people do X, Y, and Z. You're a doctor, you're literally saving people's lives. You're a police officer, you're literally saving people's lives. Those are your direct examples. But the other way you find purpose is through relationships. Like, we're social creatures. So as social creatures, one of the biggest predicators of happiness is the deepness of your relationships. So there's one famous Harvard study that I'll go through quick. I don't want to spend all the rest of the time talking about this, but it's like one of the longest standing studies on the planet. And it basically says they studied these people over decades. The biggest predicator of happiness is not your wealth. It's not how healthy you are. It's the quality of your relationships. And that for the purpose for me is cultivating good relationships and cultivating a greater community around myself with whatever talents that I was blessed with or developed. That's how I look at it.
You knocked that shit out the park, dude. That's very well done, man.
Thinking of you, Trev. Shit.
Yeah, no, man, that's very well done, man. Well, shit, man. Thank you so much. Off a whim, set this up. We set this up about I think it was right after our last episode. So very, very fortunate to just
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I forgot. I forgot this morning. Kevin reminded me. So
Yeah.
whatever. But if y'all are struggling out there, you guys know where to reach us. You could go on our website now. You could send us a voicemail. Me and Kevin will get it directly. We got an email, everything. Sign up for a show, whatever it is. If you just want to come on and talk, spit whatever struggle you're working with now, me and Kevin are here. If it's just one of us, whatever it may be. But we're going to keep it going. I do believe it is my God-given talent to smile in the darkest situations. And I will continue to bring that as much as I can. So,
yeah.
Matt, man, thanks for coming on. I'm excited to rewatch this at some point, man, because this was good. Feel good.
Very diverse selection of topics. Yeah.
A lot of so many different topics that we talked about, not just like money or martial arts. Or
yeah, that's a big thing too. It's like when you go into like Joe Rogan or everyone, they cover a diverse topic, but they don't go into it. They almost cover too many topics at once. I was listening to Jordan Peterson. That's exactly what he did. Cover too many topics at once, whatever it is, and you don't get into the nitty gritty, and it kind of upsets me because the nitty gritty is a lot easier or a lot harder to touch on than the surface level garbage.
Yeah, there's like a lot of like most podcasts are current events now. It's just like, I'm sorry, like that's people already know about that stuff enough if they care about it. There's got to be something else we could talk about.
Oh no, we need more podcasts like this that talk about.
We appreciate that.
Typically focus on like mental health and like actual like personal development. I think.
Yeah, man, we're just trying to figure it out, and while we're trying to figure it out, we're spreading that word. So we appreciate you coming on, spreading your word, Kev. Great episode, man.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy your time and your birthday over in Colorado.
Yes, sir. I'll be our next one. Yeah, our next one I might be on my phone in my my parents' house, but we're gonna make something happen.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yep.
But thank y'all for tuning in. HaleyCon73 on Twitch. Thank you for tuning in. And also, who was the first one that hopped in here? Michaela. Thank you, Michaela, for tuning in. Absolutely. All our viewers, thank you. Matt, thank you. And y'all have a good one. We'll catch y'all next time.